Hello and welcome back. My name is Kabira and this is Kabira Speaks. So today I want to talk about a video that came out recently. The video is titled, "I Do Not Support George Floyd," and it is by a woman named Candace Owens. So this video came across my timeline several times. Right here, my response is for the people who shared it, because I need to have a conversation with you. I need to talk to you. If you support Candace Owens, if you watched her video and you agreed with the majority of what she was saying, then I need to talk to you. Some of what she said, I get it. I understand where she's coming from. But a lot of what she said is both harmful and untrue. So I'm speaking to my white friends, family, people I know, people I used to know, and just begging you, if you took the time to listen to her, please take the time to listen to me. Okay, so the first point, George Floyd, bad person, doesn't deserve to be a martyr. When I first heard about the news, I was a ton of different emotions. I was upset, I was angry, I was disappointed, frustrated. This has happened again. How many times is this going to happen? It just added to the sense of unease I have as a Black person in this country. And I think a lot of other people feel the same. I didn't go out and buy a George Floyd t-shirt. In my mind, I don't raise George Floyd as a saint. I didn't know him. I didn't know his family. She points out a lot of things that George Floyd did that were really not good, okay, in the beginning of her video. Evidently, George Floyd, since the 90s, has had trouble with cocaine. So he's been in and out of jail because of substance use and abuse with cocaine. Now, I don't know if you want to call it radical, but I have a lot of empathy for people who are drug users and drug abusers. I'm just an empathetic person. It's part of the reason why I chose the social work field. So when you tell me someone's been in and out of jail because of drug use, I don't automatically in my mind write them off as a bad person. So this is when she starts listing his transgressions. She goes back and says, in this year he did this related to drugs, and this year he did that. What's interesting to me is people who probably liked the Candace Owens video were probably like, yeah, definitely, did drugs, not a good person. But when I see people from my church sharing the Candace Owens video, I'm just reminded of the times when we went out on missions trips within America, and sat with people who have been in and out of jail, who have struggled with substance use. And we sat with them and we talked to them and we respected them and we prayed with them. And we had empathy for them. But when you see George Floyd and you see that he was a drug user, where's your empathy then? That was my first thought at this point in the video. So then she goes on to say that George Floyd's crimes got worse. She said that he held up a pregnant woman looking for drugs, looking for money. He had a gun. He put the gun near her pregnant belly and was threatening her. And that is horrific. So even though I don't always see people who use drugs and who've been to jail as bad people, holding up a pregnant woman, I absolutely, of course, cannot condone. That's a terrible, awful, awful thing to do. And she's right when she says the media didn't necessarily share this part of George Floyd. She's right. I can say that, I can admit that. Something that's interesting, and I'm not saying I condone what George Floyd did. That's public record. I did look up when it happened. It was 2009. Now, I'm not gonna get into the argument of the time elapsed, does that erase the sins of the past? I don't really think that's the point. The only thing I want to do is point out the fact that people who are outraged, as they should be, that this person would do something like that, are you the same people who are defending the information that's come out right now about Donald Trump and the things he did with Epstein? I've seen comments from people saying that was a long time ago. I just want you as my viewer to compare. How do you feel about that situation and how do you feel about this situation? How much time has to go by from the crimes of someone's past? So I didn't know this information about George Floyd. I didn't know that. I didn't know he did these things. I didn't know he struggled with these things. I didn't know he committed these crimes. That matters a lot less to me than what the movement stands for, though. It honestly does. I think what happened to George Floyd was tragic, and it was the last straw for many people. Upon a mountainous pile of straws, this was the last straw. So digging into the man that George may or may not have been isn't the point. So Glenn Beck shared Candace Owens' video, and he said sentiments that Candace Owens kind of said, and he said, George Floyd he didn't deserve to die like that, but was he a hero? And I looked at the comments underneath what he had said, and some of them were really insightful. We're not saying George Floyd is a hero. And he said, why did you pick him to be the face of the movement? And another commenter said, we didn't pick him. The cops who killed him picked him. He is one more of so many that have lost their lives because of police brutality. So when Candace Owens says he wasn't a good guy, maybe he wasn't. But that's not the point of the whole overarching movement. And if you're focusing on that, then I think you're missing the point. But I do see why that is important information. But please don't let it discredit the entire movement, because a man did lose his life. Okay, so the second point that she made was that Black people are fed this lie that we're victims. And she said a lot about the fact that Democrats are the ones feeding Black people this lie that we are victims. And if we are victims, we will not succeed unless you're like Candace Owens and you're conservative. These are her words. You're conservative and you don't believe the lie that you're a victim. You don't push off responsibility onto white people. You don't push off your accountability onto white people. Then you'll be successful. Now, this part I completely disagree with. So first of all, from my own personal perspective, I've never acted like a victim. I don't think that I'm constantly told I'm a victim. But getting the knowledge that, oh, racism is still happening, even if you didn't notice it because that was your normal, it is still happening, and here's how it affects you. I didn't know those things until I went to college. Actually, just yesterday, one of my aunts, she was really upset with me, and she said, where's the sweet, innocent little girl I used to know? Oh, I bet that it's your liberal professors that made you this way. And maybe it is, but I really just feel like I didn't have this knowledge and information back then, and I do now. And being told about racial disparity didn't victimize me, it empowered me. It made me understand there are so many things in this country and in this world that happened 50 years ago, 75 years ago, that are still affecting you as a person today. And they're probably going to affect your children too. And there are things that we can do, and we need to do them now. That's how I feel. Black people aren't playing the victim. Life is harder. Racism is still here. And it has such a long-lasting effect. It really, really does. I think when Candace Owens was saying victimization, she wasn't taking into account poverty. And that is at the root of it, what this really is. So Black people, not just in America, across the globe, across all religions, across all creeds, are more impoverished than white people. And poverty does so many things to you, so many awful things to you. It affects your mental health. It affects your decision making. It affects your risk versus reward ability to think. It has a huge impact on you. So if I were to say to the people who shared the Candace Owens video, and I'm not going to individually call them out, that's not my point. But let's say I was speaking to a friend, let's call her Diane. A friend, Diane, who shared the video. If I were to ask her, Diane, are you a racist? She would say, no, Kabira, I'm not a racist. Okay, so Diane, if you are not a racist, that means that you agree that white people and black people are equal. Yes or no? Yes. So that means that you believe that black people biologically are not more likely to commit a crime. Biologically, correct? If we're the same? Yes. So that would also mean that you believe biologically black people are not more inclined to be violent. Yes or no? If you are not racist, you believe we are equal, then you would say yes. And if I were to ask you, biologically, are black and white people as equally capable as making good decisions? You would say yes. Because biologically, black and white people are the same. White people aren't better than black people aren't better than white people. So why do white people have more jobs? Why are black people more impoverished? Why are black people more victims of a crime and involved in crime? If it's not a biological reason, then there has to be another reason. And that's what sociology teaches us. The problems that we face are socioeconomic. And they start with racism, okay? They start from slavery and racism that happened, which some people say, oh, so long ago. And it trickles down and creates impoverished communities, which lead to all these other things, okay? It's not black people saying, oh, I'm a victim and things are never gonna get better. It's recognizing, so this really bad thing happened in our country and the effects are long lasting. They're not permanent, but they are long lasting and they are present. And it's not playing a victim to recognize these things. Her third point was that police brutality is not racial. And this is simply just not true. It's simply not true. So what I find so interesting is Candace Owens is a journalist, and yet in her video she cited no sources whatsoever. She was dropping facts left and right that white people are more likely to be killed by police. Well, there are more white people in this country, but if you look at things on a level that takes into consideration the population of white people and the population of black people, you can clearly see that black people are killed at a higher rate than white people at the hands of the police. It's not a matter of opinion, it's simply just fact. There's another website I want you to take a look at called Mapping My Police. I want you to look at it. I will drop a link. But as I was researching both the Washington Post and this other website that tracks police brutality, it's obvious. The numbers are just, they clearly show that black people are disproportionately killed by police. So therefore it is racial. 1,098 people were killed just last year by the police. And at this point, honestly guys, I want you to join me in understanding that police brutality is racial. But even if you're not there yet, you need to know that police brutality is a real, serious, huge issue. But yes, it is racial. So 1,098 people were killed last year at the hands of the police. And 24% of that group of people who were killed were black. But black people make up 13% of the population. So that just shows you that it is racial. It's not just, oopsie, ooh, we killed another person and he just so happens to be black. He was the one committing the crime. It is racial. The police are not trained enough to not have these prejudices and ideas in their head that black men and women are more dangerous. And so police are more likely to use fatal methods with black and brown populations. That's just simple fact. So if you watched the Candace Owens video, I do not support George Floyd, and you found yourself nodding along and agreeing with everything she said, I hope you took the time to watch my video and know that the information that she presented and provided to you is not true. It is not true, it is a lie, and it is taking away from what's really happening right now. When I was younger, I had this friend. She always hit me and pushed me. And I would say, ow. And she would go, that didn't hurt. How did she know? It wasn't happening to her, it's happening to me. And that's the best example I can come up with for what's happening right now. If your Black friends and family are telling you, stop, this hurts, you don't get to say, no, it doesn't, because it's real and it's happening. And even if up until this very day, you believed one thing, it's okay to change your mind. I am begging you to change your mind. Black people all across the country, and even across the globe, Black and white people too, are begging you to see us, to hear us, to speak up for change. These protests, they're difficult. Seeing social media flooded with graphic images and the nonstop conversation about race is exhausting, but it is so necessary, and things are going to get better. So as always, thank you for watching. If you want to talk about this, please, I would love to talk to you. Comment, or you can message me privately. A lot of my friends have been amazing during this time, and they've compiled so much information and resources about how you can help and what the facts actually are. So I would love to help you understand if you're not getting it yet. I want to have the conversation with you. I'm not going to swear. I'm not going to cuss you out. I'm not going to be mean to you. I will talk to you because I want you to understand. It's really important to me. But yeah, so that's it for today. You'll be seeing more content about this from me in the future because it's so important. And thanks for watching.